is my magic wand. So this is it. It's virtual. You're welcome to it. And the reason I'm giving it away because it doesn't work. There is no magic. And here's the magic. There is magic. And the magic is right here every Friday night. And it's this kind of thing across America that I say has rescued this country. And it's people like Brian Kelly, although we've had some skirmishes within the party, but Brian's a good conservative. We have painted him in a light in the party. We have painted Brian with politics, and that's what I don't like. My magic wand didn't work, so don't try to use it in a pin. So, but every Friday night, people like this. This is the magic. This is the magic wand. There are people here who love America, who need to reach for remedy. And we're so thankful that you have decided to come and speak to us, and also to hear us. You've heard Tony's story. You even heard Theodore Roosevelt. So, folks, let's welcome Lieutenant Governor Brian Kelly.
All right, well, thank you very much. I appreciate the invitation, especially to be here. I was very happy to accept it and to talk a little bit about. We can talk a little bit about the past, but I want to talk more about the future if I could. Although let me say on the front end here, just because of geographically where we're located, that I hope that there isn't a single person in this room that has given up on the idea of Terry Bowman being the next congressman from this area. You know, people get used to things being how they are for a long time, right? And change can be really good. And I know Terry well, and he would just be an outstanding congressman. I want to invite you to really to do whatever you can to make sure that everybody around you, everybody that you know, knows that there's this great opportunity right now for somebody to serve in a way that will make you really proud. So when I first decided to get involved in politics, I remember very well it's my first political memory. I was watching TV with my dad, and it was Ronald Reagan's farewell speech. It was the very beginning of 1989, and so I was just a kid at that time, but I remember watching it with Dad, and it was pretty special. I've watched that speech many times since then. I remember thinking, I just saw something, or something, the capstone of something that was really special, and that's what got me involved. It got me interested in getting involved in this thing that happens through a political system, but it's really about policy. And so I had, just like a lot of the people in this room, just been involved in volunteering for the local Republican Party. In fact, when I first started volunteering, my mom had to drive me because I wasn't 16 yet. And so out of that, though, came just really a lifetime of activism. And it happened at a lot of different levels. I worked first on local government. I had a county government that was really financially just kind of operating in a very unprofessional and unmanaged way. And I thought that I had something to offer. I decided I was going to get involved and try and fix the financial system so that the county where I lived had a system that could really manage its costs, that would manage through good times and bad times. And I really gained at that point an appreciation for the difference that one person or a small group of people can make. I should have saved what I just said just 2 more minutes.
Thank you.
And so I decided I was in banking at the time, and I lived a private sector life, and I decided I was going to run for state representative because when I was in banking, I made loans to small businesses. That was my job. And what I saw was a state that was obsessed with economic development gimmicks. We're going to be the next fill in the blank with the flavor of the month capital of the world. That was the economic development plan. We're going to be the next Hollywood. We're going to be the next alternative energy capital of the world. We're going to be the battery capital of the world. There's all these things, like as though the government can decide where the economy is going to go. Now, the government can get out of the way and it goes up, or it can get in the way and it goes down. So I guess in that sense it has an impact. But it doesn't get to decide where the innovation of people takes things in the future. And that was what was missing. That's why I got involved. Now, I knew that state government was a mess at that time. That was 2006. I was one of the few. There was only about 7 or 8 of us Republicans got elected that year. It was a wave year against us. And what I like to say is that state government, it wasn't, like, it's not as bad as I thought when I got there. It was a lot worse. So even the normal, basic functions were not getting done. The things like lining up a reasonable relationship between money coming in and money going out. Right? The idea of even having a plan, the passage of a budget, which is required by our Constitution, by the way, that those simple rudimentary things were not getting done. And then also all of the negotiations were in a framework such that it stinks to be outnumbered, and I can tell you that for sure. And I spent all my time in the House being outnumbered. But most of my efforts at that time were, how do I lessen the bad impacts of what the majorities are doing? 2011, though, we had an opportunity to do things totally different. And that opportunity is something that has really made a difference. And so whether it was the House or the Senate, the governor, our Supreme Court, and by the way, every consequential thing that we've done, or nearly every consequential thing that we've done, has been challenged all the way up to the Supreme Court. Critically important that as these battles that the Democrats are losing in the legislative arena, as they are settled there, they immediately take it to court. And so we have to have good, solid, constitutional, rule of law judges. And we do have a majority of those today in Michigan. And of course, we've got an opportunity to make it 6-1. We have an opportunity right now to make it 6-1 in this election. And that is it's a wonderful opportunity to solidify the work that has been done. So keep in mind, Brian Zara, David Viviano, and Judge Redford, who's from the other side of the state. He's from Kent County, which is closer to my home. Awesome judge, and he would make a great Supreme Court justice. But when we started, it was the idea of just balancing the budget. Now, there's a lot of discussion today, right now, about the things that we did to balance the budget back in 2011. And a lot of the discussion revolves around school funding. I find this very unfortunate, by the way, because the amount of money spent in schools is not a good measure of how well the schools are doing. Nevertheless, though, that is a big part of the debate. There's been a lot of gross ratings points put behind completely false accusations, what the Free Press called the big and persistent lie. And it's because when you look at the actual record, you'll find that we've made a lot of progress in reducing the liabilities in the state of Michigan, proving that it is possible for government to not just balance its books, but to pay down debt. And one of the areas where we had a huge amount of debt was in our retiree promises to school employees. So you can make all the promises you want, but if you don't save money, if you don't actually put away money to keep those promises, then you end up with situations like we see in Detroit today, which is crushing debt that leads to circumstances where even the basic functions of government can't be carried out. And then ultimately, in the most extreme cases, you find yourself in a bankruptcy situation. And so we're determined that would not happen. We did start to make the actual debt payments on all of these promises and obligations that politicians of the past have made. And I find it very ironic that is a line of attack now, because we have put a very significant amount of resources toward retiring those obligations so that they're not left on our kids and our grandkids. Every single year, those problems get harder and harder to solve. And so now is the time. When 2011 looked like now is the time. And then we did some saving for the future. At the same time, though, we knew that the overall environment for success was wrong in our state. We had too much regulation. We had too high taxes. I remember,